Welcome to a NAK Squad live stream. This is kind of an unscheduled stream. We're going to do a development stream. I need to do some development on Tanoa, so I figured this was an opportunity for you guys to kind of see what goes into it behind the scenes. At 6 p.m. Eastern Time, in about an hour and a half, we do have a premiere of the NAK Ops from yesterday. That premiere, it's already posted as another version of it, but that premiere just gives us an opportunity to watch it together for anybody that wants to join. So I'm going to go ahead and get my ARMA started here. This is my collection when I'm doing editing. Basically, it's nothing that's going to create a dependency on the mission, but these are tools that help me give me some extra options when doing map creation. So the first thing I'm doing is making adding some bridges to the Tanoa server. People do like to drive from island to island, and it's very difficult to do because there are no bridges connecting all the islands. You can fly, obviously, between one island and another, but it's for those that like to drive, it's the easier way to do it. Alright, so I'm going to go into editor, and I'm just going to load the quickest map, which is virtual reality, and then I will actually load the mission that I've started working on. Alright, so these are all my different directories, and I'm going to go into NAK Bridges. Okay, so this is the map I've already started working on. Obviously, it's Tanoa, and I've added a couple bridges already. I just want the last step for me right now for this part of the development is to add a road that goes from here. I'm going to go from this road here over to this road over here. And so I've just added a few items to make it look like a construction site, like they're working on the bridge. If I take you to one of the other bridges. So this is the sort of thing it will look like. And the bridge goes all the way across. There's no mod required because these are the bridges that are available in Tanoa. They are not normally available in the editor as a prop, but there is a mod that exposes them as a prop. I will need to, he's got a couple tools here to create these objects as simple objects so that you can put them in the initialization of the mission. And therefore it won't be needed as a server-side or client-side mod. So it's been a little while since I've built with the bridges, so it's going to take me a minute to kind of get my feet under me. But I will just go ahead and do my building. If you have questions, I am watching the chat. Let me put it on live chat. Alright, so I am watching the chat if you guys have any questions. And I will just kind of explain what I'm doing as I'm doing it from this point on. Alright, so the first thing to do is hide terrain objects. Obviously I can't put a bridge through these buildings, so I'm going to hide terrain objects. I'm going to change it to the area widget. In most cases I'm going to turn it to square just so that it's easier to tell where it's going to crop. And then I'm just going to stretch the crop out and get rid of a couple of these buildings here. Let's see. I might get rid of that one and kind of replace it. I'm going to get rid of these as well. So notice it got rid of the trees as well as the buildings. In this case, that's not what I want. So I'm going to go back here and tell it not to get rid of the trees. And then what I will do is put a second high terrain object just to get rid of these bushes right here along the road. So same thing, make it square. And then we're just going to expand it a little bit. That should work okay. And then obviously the map put these objects on the ground where the buildings were. Kind of looks bad, so we will fix that in a moment. But what we want to do here is replace that building that was there with something that's more like a building that would be appropriate near a construction site. So we'll go to props. I think it's either under Altis. I'm just quickly scanning through them. Again, it's been a little while since I've developed, so I may be a little slow in some regards, but I think this is a good building to go there. We can put their construction materials and stuff inside that. There won't be any enemies generally in these areas. There are no missions. I made sure that in the areas where I was crossing the water, there generally aren't any missions that spawn right here in this area. There is a mission that spawns back out here, and there is a mission that does kind of get close to this side. I may at some point have to put some code in there to prevent AI from trying to cross the road, but I think we will be okay. Alright, so I'm just going to line up this building, make sure it kind of looks square on that road, so kind of more natural. So that's good. Door's in a good spot. It's not floating anywhere. Make sure the ground, okay, so we've got the ground showing through in here. We definitely don't want that. So we're going to have to raise the building a little bit. And what I do is I go to this tool, and then I turn off snapping and alignment. And I'm going to just raise it until just the grass is gone from the inside here. Okay, that's good. And we'll go and look outside again. Make sure it's not floating anywhere. The buildings have these ramps that lead up to the doors, so it does look okay. I do need to move it a little bit because the bush comes through the wall there, and I don't want that. So we'll just move this up. And I see some grass there too. May have to come up a little higher. Yep. I've got a dog barking next door, so hopefully it's not too distracting. See if we can get my handle and raise it at the same time. Alright, so I'm having to raise it quite a bit, so I need to be careful here. Okay, so let's go check outside again. Again, we got the ramps leading up to the doors, so that's pretty good. That one's good. That one's good. Okay, and the bush is no longer going through the building. I am a little picky. Obviously, even Arma developers sometimes leave the grass going through buildings and bushes and everything else, but if I can help it, I try to avoid it. Okay, so next we need to kind of camouflage the fact that there are these different color bases where the buildings were. They painted the ground differently, and it obviously looks bad, especially when you zoom out. So I am going to go to signs, graffiti. It's weird that it's under graffiti, but then there's these dirt patches, and that'll allow me to put a dirt patch and make it intentional versus unintentional. I don't like the fact that it was unintentional and it was a different color, but I can kind of make it work with these dirt patches here. Unfortunately, there isn't a dirt that's exactly the same color as the Tanoa earth unless I use a mod, so I am kind of limited to what I'm using here. Most of them are contact added elements. So let's see if this one looks better. Yeah, that's actually closer to the one I was using. So Control C, Control V. We'll paste a few of them in here. What I also do is this hide terrain object, it kind of gets annoying. So I put it on its own layer, and then I tell that layer that I can't move it and I can't see it. It still does what it's supposed to do, but it doesn't obstruct my vision now. And what I'll do here is I'll put a construction vehicle so it looks like, you know, it's sitting here in the dirt, that sort of thing. So weirdly, the construction vehicles are under Rex and then industrial. I'll put a bulldozer here, like he's been working in the dirt, and we can even maybe put a mound of dirt here in a little while. Hey, OBJ. So let's see what we can do with the rest of this. What I'm going to do that will quickly help me a little bit is come over here. I've got my other little compound that I created, and we'll copy some of the elements from here and then move over to the other side and paste them down just to save me a little bit of time. So we'll put the other construction vehicle here. And this one I switched to using Dirt Patch 4, so let's change these to Dirt Patch 4. And then also let's create our own layer for this area as well, so that all these objects are in the same layer. So we're going to go down here and go to New Layer. It created a layer with just these objects in it, and then I'm going to drag it up to the construction area's parent layer. So let me collapse this one and this one so I can see the parent, and then I'll drag them up to the parent. So now it's right under the parent, and I'll just name this Construction 5. None of that's necessary. It just makes it easier for me when I'm doing to know, okay, this is Dirt Patch 4 and this is Dirt Patch 5, and I can see that they're all here in the same layer. So now I can select both of the 5s, go to Attributes, Object, and change them both to 4s. Just makes my life a little bit easier. Now obviously these plants right there don't look right, kind of boxing in the digger or the excavator or whatever it would be called. So I'm going to go ahead and add another hide terrain object. And then I'm going to put that on this layer that is locked and hidden so that it doesn't get in my way anymore. The bush behind it looks okay there. I'm not being overly picky obviously, but I do want it to look somewhat right. Let's just move our dirt patches around, drag them to the ground layer. Let's turn on our lock and angle again. Dirt patches are not real objects, so they will draw on the ground at no matter what height they're set at. And so what we'll do is just copy this one and put a couple pastes of it. Again, it doesn't have to be exact. We can rotate them so they don't look like stamps. One of the tools that I use is Eden Advanced, or 3D Advanced, and one of the tools it has is to rotate the objects in random directions. And so you can do something like that, just so that it doesn't look like it's a stamp. Then I also added just this little piece of dirt near the front of the digger that looks like, you know, it's scraped the ground as it's been digging. That's, you know, raising and lowering it. So just little things. It's not a big deal. This one kind of looks out of place there, so I may get rid of that. This looks good. You know, it could be like a lunchroom for the guys or whatever. A couple toilets there. Another shack. And the fact that it has some logs here, that all works out pretty well. So the rest of these items kind of fit in. So what we'll do is, again, go back to one of my other ones just to save a little bit of time. And we can copy and paste elements from this that we want to bring into the other one. So let's go and look at one of the other ones, see how much different it is. Oh, I don't need that there. So this one is strange. So I added some dirt patches, but this bridge, I don't know why I would add it like that and not down to ground level, more level with the ground. But I really don't want to mess with it too much, so I'm going to leave it as is for now. Again, I used all dirt patch 5s here. I'm wondering if 4 is going to look better, so let me try a 4 on this one real quick. I don't know, I'm kind of torn. It doesn't really matter a whole lot. The 4 definitely has more reds in it. Here, let's do it where we have 2 next to each other. Yeah, it is so hard to tell the difference. So 4 is lighter, but has more red. So it kind of blends with, I think I'm going to change them all to 4s. So just undo all those steps there. Highlight this. This is construction area 3. What I can do again is use one of the tools and do select matching classes in view. Let me zoom out so I get all of them. Select matching classes in view, and now it's selected all the dirt patch 5s. And go into attributes and change it to 4 and say OK. Yeah, that looks alright. Alright, so there were a couple other dirt patch 5s in that area, but not in my view. Here they are. And I can hit F to jump to them, and that actually is a different construction site. So I've got some objects crossing over, so I need to move these dirt patches down here to construction 2. There we go. And again, do right click, select matching classes in view, right click attributes, and change them all to 4s. And I think I added that blending to make it just look like, you know, the trucks were driving up and bringing dirt with them and still not smoothed out the dirt. And we can kind of emphasize that. We've got like these road edges and other things. We just have to find colors that match. Again, if we were using a mod, we would have a lot more options as far as roads and dirts. Cup has a lot of roads that you can use. Again, that would make it a required mod for the server, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to make required mods. Oh, that's possibly why I used Dirt Patch 5 in the past. Because it matches with these cracks and other things that don't match with the number 4. So that's probably why I did it. It's been about 4 months since I did the development of this. So, alright, back to here. We're going to go ahead and start adding the bridge elements. Some of them will cover this stuff here. Let me add visibility and transformation. I think I need to make this one a little bit bigger here. I need to hit this bush as well. And probably that one. Alright. That looks good. I'll hide these again. And we'll start doing our bridge. Again, you can see this one I had to curve quite a bit to get it to line up well. I think I'm going to have to do the same thing here. Just do a gentle curve. This one I did kind of an S curve, but very gentle. I'm going to do similar here. This one was much straighter. You know, I crossed a railroad track, which I kind of didn't want to have to do, but and I don't think I can hide the terrain objects, so what I did is I added these track bumpers to make it look like they intentionally block the train track. I mean, it's not like we're really going to have trains running on this thing, so I added a couple train bumpers here. So this one was much straighter than the other one. I think this one's going to have to curve. So what I'm going to do is just grab the beginning part of the bridge. I really cannot. Oh, you can see I didn't really quite finish this area yet. Did add these. Oh no, these were here to begin with, to be honest, because they're locked. I don't think I have any other locked sections right now. Yeah, so those are native to the map. That's interesting. So maybe that's why I picked this area. Alright, so what I'm going to do, and again, I did the best I can with the bridge parts I had. It's not perfect, you know, it goes from like this weird curve and then a slight arc coming up and then flattens out and then another broad and then another angled piece and then it flattens out the whole way. So I think I'm going to just copy the first couple just to get me going, and I'm going to put them down here because that's the way the curve needs to go. And I use these so people don't drive straight onto the bridge. I have to slow down a little bit. So we'll paste those in. We had snapping turned on, so I'm going to unpaste, turn off the snapping, now paste them. See, now their alignment stayed this time. Again, you know, it's not the best alignment in the world, but when you have to curve things, you can see I curved it very gentle. You can see the size of the box on this side versus this side. This distance here is just a little bit more than that first side, and that's how I started the curve, just very little bit at a time, so that it didn't look too awkward. So what I'm going to do is just line those up. This curve is going the wrong way, but that's from the S curve. So this is all guesswork. You know, there's no perfect way to get these bridges built. A lot of it literally was just guesswork to see what looked right and what didn't. You don't have a lot of bridge pieces. Let me see if I can find the bridge pieces here. Here's another trick. Right click, find an asset browser, and then it will tell me it's under Tanoa Bridges 3D objects. So then I can clear that, and then I can look for Tanoa Bridges 3D objects, and these are the bridge pieces that I have available. You can see this one kind of curves up. It's called ramp down, and that one arcs up. So actually I think I want this ramp down to be my first piece. So let me delete this, right click here, attributes, and make this a ramp down. And then what I'm going to do is angle it up. See that? Yeah, it's just weird having those. Maybe I just need a straight long and just go straight at my angle here. So let's delete this, right click, attributes, and I'm going to try to change it to a bridge long. Just start with this, bring it down. I've got snapping turned on. I'm going to turn that off right now. Snapping is good if you want your pieces to be, like if you're building a fence and you know each piece is exactly 3 meters, then you can turn on snapping and set it to a 3 meter snap, and then that way your pieces will always snap to each other. So now what I'm going to do, obviously the angle's not quite right, so I'm going to go just to my rotation widget. I'm going to make sure that it's on the object, not the world. So I want the rotation based on the north, south, east of the actual object. If I do world, you can see when I rotate the object, I would be rotating it different, not the object's axis, but the world's axis. So not good in this situation. So I'm going to angle it, then switch to transition and bring it up, just so that I'm going to try to get it as little dirt as possible on the road, and that actually looks really good. But I'm going to have to move it forward a little bit because I don't want it to start in the middle of this road. I want it to start it right at the edge of the road. So here, let's go look up above. I'm going to move it this way just a little, and then let's lower it down again. We need to lower it a tiny bit. If you're having trouble controlling the lowering, it's also weird that, okay, so if you're having trouble lowering, you can lower it with the actual position numbers there. Also, if you lower it to a spot, say there, and then I want to adjust it again very close to that other spot, it's weird because it kind of snaps past it. So what you have to do is bring it way out of where it was and then bring it back down closer to where you want it to be again. There's some weird snapping that happens at that regard. So that's a very good position there. We just got a tiny bit of lip, and the sidewalk looks good, just a tiny bit of dirt. If we don't want this grass there, we may use it in the wild, but there's a object called cutter, C-U-T-T-E-R, grass cutter. We just put it there and the grass goes away. Grass cutter is another object that can be, maybe changes dimensions. No, grass cutter set. So it's a round, and it doesn't update all the time when you move it. See this, I'm putting it over this grass here and it's not going away. When you run the mission, if you had moved it, it would work properly. Just remember that it is a round object, so that the corners are being cut off with a grass cutter. So when you put two grass cutters next to each other, you're going to want to overlap them, not necessarily that much. I normally come up above, select both of them, and check my overlap. Actually, that's probably pretty close there. Oftentimes what I'll do is put down 5 or 6 of them, and then come in here and use one of the other tools, placement tools. Actually, it's under, again, it's been a little while since I've done this. There is a placement, oh, put it all under just placement tools. And here I can set it to a circular pattern. It'll put the objects in a circle, or a grid pattern, and I can put a number of columns and spacing, and it will put my, oh, I had the bridge selected too. It'll then position them. Oh, what is going on? Weird. Control Z. So that placement tool did weird things. Normally, you would just select the two grass cutters. So let's see, Control C, Control V. So let me put a bunch of grass cutters. I got a bunch of grass cutters. If I just select them, and then do Tools, Placement Tools, and tell it that I want a grid with okay, so it's doing columns that way, spacing. So here you go, you can do this sort of thing. And then Y spacing. Let's do less columns. And then just as an example, so you can space them out in an actual grid, say, and now would it either save this as a composition, save it in its own layer, and then just copy and paste it where I needed to block out large sections of grass. So that's how I do it. So let's get this, whoops, wrong object there. Let's get our bridge back to where we want it. It's number 2 to bring up this transition tool. See, now I can't get right on where I want it, so I have to come way up and then go back down to it. I don't know why it does it, but it does. Actually, and now see, this is not kind of square with the road. I really do want it square. Again, it's my OCD. So I'll do the rotation tool and just rotate it so that it's parallel to the actual road itself. Alright, so we can kind of see our target way out there in the distance. It's not too bad. So we may have to have just a gentle curve to hit it, and we'll probably have to S-curve it to make it look smooth, but I think we'll be okay. So we're going to delete, and that looks like a good height for the bridge all the way across. So what I'm going to do is put one pillar here. Let me make sure I'm in my each of the bridges I have in their own layer as well, so I can select a whole layer if I need to. So we're going to put this in a new layer, and this is bridge southeast. Okay, so that was inside south, so we need to bring this up to the root, move to root. We're going to collapse south and north. Oh, and we need to bring it up to all bridges here. So we're going to collapse all these and then bring that into there. There we go. Just name it consistent with my other ones here. Alright, so the next thing is to do a pillar. So let's clear, this is doing a filter, so we're going to clear that filter. We're going to go to Tanoa Bridges, and then we're going to get the pillar. And I'm going to go look at the other bridges to see if I put the pillar in the middle or at the intersection. So it looks like I put the pillar pretty much in the middle of each bridge piece, which is fine. Just want to be consistent. So for this one, I probably don't even need a pillar because it's so close to the ground level. So we're just going to keep this one for the next. What you can do is look at the angle of rotation on this one. And then for all my other objects, I'm going to make sure the angle of rotation is the same so that they are square to each other. And then now I'll use the translation widget to move them around where I need them to be and change their height. So the next one, pillar, will be out here. So what we're going to do is add another bridge piece. What I'm going to do is do Control C, Control Shift V, so it pastes right on top of the previous. Okay, it didn't. Why didn't it? Let's try that again. Control C, Control Shift V. Okay, that one worked. I had to unselect it first. Now, if I use the translation widget, I can make sure that I'm exactly parallel with the first piece. And what we do is we go in and we position it exactly where we want, but we need to get rid of the angle. So it's still angling up by a few degrees, 14 degrees to be exact. And so what we're going to do is we're going to set this to 0. Whoops, that was height, not angle. It's the red one we want to set, but it's rotation. Oh, there we go. Rotation 0. No. That's weird. Let me undo that. Let me rotate it to be flat. Angle is changing. 359, 782. It is that angle changing. Oh, it's changing relative. No, it's changing relative to itself. So 0 should be flat. But that is definitely not flat. Alright. Just eyeball it for right this second here. Switch to 2, bring it down. Move it in a little. When I try to move things in, I try to line them up as close as I physically possibly can to be matching. So you can see there's a tiny gap there. That's not acceptable for me. And alright, this is weird. Alright, let me delete this and start again. That doesn't, it's not lining up the way I thought it should. Again, it's been a little while, so forgive me. Control C, unselect, Control Shift V, paste it on top, slide it out. Should be an exact match when I get it out at the end here. And that's a perfect match. The spacing is absolutely perfect. Okay, so now I need to change the angle and make it flat. Change the translation tool, bring it down to line it up. Let's go look. Okay, I got a tiny gap there and a tiny gap there, but it's the same gap. That's what I needed. Okay. Last time the gap was different on each side, and I didn't think it should be just by the rotations I had done, so I had done something wrong somewhere. Okay, so again, moving that such a small amount, it won't let me. It just jumps past it, so I have to move it out and then move it in. In that case, I probably should have used the numbers to do the rotation, or to do the movement, because it was such a small amount. But there, my gap is gone. Transition looks good. And now we've got our piece at the right angle. The angle of the road is still 275, 138. 275, 138. So now our pillar and our bridge piece are the same. And again, I'm just eyeing this. It just needs to look good rather than be a physical support for the bridge. So now we bring this down and we're going to line it up so the top of the bridge meets the bottom of the road. So we've got just a few inches to come up. Let's see if it'll let me adjust it that little amount without jumping, and it's jumping, so bring it down and then back up. And so now what I'm doing is looking for that yellow, the yellow bounding box for the pillar. I want it to disappear at the top, so that lets me know that it is definitely high enough into the road so that the bottoms are matching. So that looks good. It's about in the middle. Looks good to me. Alright, so for the next couple, I'm not going to turn it at all. I just want it to go straight out. So I'm just going to select the road and the pillar. Select the road and the pillar. The pillar goes way down into the ground. So, and then I'm going to do Control C, unclick, Control Shift V. It pastes right on top of what I copied. And then I'm going to drag it out. So again, for a couple, I'm just going to copy and paste. I don't want it to turn at all. And then we'll start turning ever so gradually. Again, we're going to do a slight S curve. You can see, God, that is so close. I mean, it's maybe a couple to... Oh God, maybe I won't have to do it.
Attention, volcano poked you.
Alright. So, let me copy this. Unclick, Control Shift V, paste right on top, and drag it out. Check my join. Looks good. And we're just going to keep going. I think it's such a small angle that I'm going to have to be off. I think about halfway I'm going to start angling it like a quarter of a degree. And I think that will be enough of a turn. Unfortunately, it is guesswork. There is no formula to figure it out. Control C, Control Shift V, drag it out. Looking good. So now this time my dragging and lining up is pretty accurate. So this time when I move it, it's going to tell me how far I'm moving it. I'm going to keep an eye on that number so that I can try to match it exactly each time and not have to keep zooming in and out to check my
Private message received.
So Control C, Control Shift V. And you can see that number in front of the green arrow. It's telling you how far I've moved it from its starting point. And I want to line it up as close to it as I can, so it's 48 meters. And then I'll check it this time, and it is good line up. So we're going to Control C, Control Shift V, and move it 48 meters. Okay, so we've got something going on here. It's lower, and I didn't move it lower. And my snapping is off, so let's try that again, see what happened here. Delete these. Copy these two. Control C, unclick, Control Shift V. Should be right on top of the other ones. That is strange. It's like it's trying to line with the ground, but I've got ground snapping turned off. So let's move it 48 meters. And then we'll have to see what we can do about adjusting it here. That is so bizarre. Especially considering the first few we did the exact same process. Yeah, so now it's not touching the ground. The pillar is not on the ground, so that's why it wanted to sink some. Where the other ones, the pillar was on the ground. So bring that up just a couple meters. Check our alignment. My alignment's off. I'm too high by a tiny bit, and I'm too far by a tiny bit. So for these, instead of trying to use the arrows to line it up, I'm going to do it with the numbers. So I need to move it down tiny bit, so let's try that. Not quite enough yet, so we'll try it again. Too far. Way too far. That's pretty close. We'll do the final once we get it tighter together so that we can see them line up a little better. So we need to subtract the green a tiny bit, make it a little smaller. So we're changing 0.6. More. 0.006. So we're going to change it another 6.5. Okay. 6, 0. Ooh, it looked like it moved the other direction. It is moving the wrong way. Okay, the green axis should have been front and back. I was not changing the red axis. This is really bizarre. Some weird things are happening. Alright, I'm gonna have to do it. I could just do it with the opposite handle, but something weird is happening. I don't know if it's me or the tool, but this is definitely the green axis. I was changing the green number. The blue axis is easy because there's only one axis. So it needs to come down such a tiny bit. Again, that's how picky I am. Obviously, most people would never, ever see that. But it's me, so I see it. So I'm going to change it. God. Still needs to come down more. There we go. Did I go too far? No, I did not. See? You can be pretty perfect if you want to. Alright. So the question is, do we add another pillar below this one so that it looks, so if anybody ever goes underwater, it looks okay? Or we can add a rock. Let's see about adding a rock. We haven't added any rocks, so let's add one just so you can kind of see. Obviously that's not big enough. Where's the giant ones? Here we go. These I know are very big. I don't know what color rocks are back here. These are brown ones. Okay. Mossy might look okay underwater. And you could add other stuff to it, but alright. That to me is acceptable. Like I said, I almost didn't put a rock there. How often are people actually going to go underwater and see that your pillar doesn't touch the ground? But that was a quick and easy fix. Alright, so let's try copying and pasting this segment and see what happens. Hopefully they line up right again. Control C, Control Shift V, and move it straight out. And it looks like it's lining up. And let's line it up to 48. There we go. And not perfect, but damn close. So I'm gonna move it forward because it'll snap, and then move it back so that it's perfect. Yep. Good for me. Oh, nope, it's floating. I know there's another big stone. Maybe it's this one? Yeah, there we go. Alright, looks natural enough. I'm not gonna continue doing that. Unfortunately, I don't think I did it on the other bridges. I don't think I went and looked to see if my pillars floated at all. Maybe I got lucky. Yep, I got a floater here. So, God, I got lucky. Oh, that's weird. That would be cool for an underwater little mission there. Definitely underwater is underused, but they need such a better weapon. Yeah, I got a couple floaters here on this bridge. It's not something I'm going to continue doing because I'm going to be lazy. I'm overly critical in alignment where people can see it. It could be a suspension bridge, I guess, but it's obviously not, so we won't pretend. So, I'm gonna keep going. I'm overly perfectionist in my lining because everybody I know is gonna see that. Very rarely do I think anybody's gonna see that my pillars are not touching the ground. Again, I could just add a second pillar. That would be a quick and easy fix. Maybe add another pillar and flip it upside down so that they lined up, because the top is different from the bottom of the pillars. But okay, we're gonna copy this and the pillar. Two 48. Now the measurement's not exact. That's why I'm bringing it back to 47.9 and then just to 48 because, and you can see it's not lining up that time. There you go, there's another 48. And it's kind of weird that way, so you do have to play it by eye just a little bit. And then I'm going to check real quick just to make sure. Yeah, that looks good. Alright, so now we're almost halfway, maybe a third of the way. I'm going to go ahead and start changing it just ever so slightly. Let me go straight forward from here, because yeah, if I go straight from here, I definitely will miss my target. So my target's over here, and I was flying this way. So yeah, I'm definitely going to have to curve it some. So I'm going to start curving it, do my best to estimate the curve, and I can make the curve larger or smaller as I go. So here again, we're going to pick the pillar and the road, copy it, paste it, whoops. Let's try that again. Control C, unclick, Control Shift V. Okay, it is pasted. Nope, just the pillar that time. I'm not doing good here. Control C, Control Shift V. And now it decided it was going to paste it way out of height. See, when you have the snap turned off and the vertical alignment turned off, it is supposed to paste right on top of the other one. I don't know what's going on. Control C, unclick, Control Shift V. Now that one worked. Alright, so we're going to move it out 48. Actually, we're going to probably move it out 47.8, and then we're going to rotate it just a tiny bit. I wish I could change my rotation point to be this corner, so then I could just rotate it based on that corner, but unfortunately it's going to rotate based on the middle of the object. So there is a little bit of playing around. Again, I just want to rotate it ever so slightly. So let's do 0.2 degrees, and now we are going to have to line things back up again. I've got my pillar and the road, and we're going to shift it over here. See, that snapping is driving me nuts. You got to bring it way over here to bring it back. That's pretty good. It's not great, but I'm gonna call that acceptable. Again, when you're driving over the road at 60 kilometers an hour, I don't think you're gonna notice it shift. Ah, God, no. I have to fix that. It's just gonna drive me nuts. It's weird. It's snapping a lot there. And I've got my grid snapping turned off. So yeah, no matter what, it's always going to be off that same amount. I think I'm going to have to accept that. Alright, acceptable. It's got my couple of degree turn, or a quarter of a degree, 20th of a degree. Not a 20th, God, a 5th of a degree. So we're going to do it again in Control C, Control Shift V, drag it out. Now since this is based on my copy, it should be turned as well. So let's just check and see if the angle is turned. No, it's set up with the same. I still need to turn it a quarter or a fifth. So we need to bring it back. Okay, so there's lined up. Bring it back. Couple. go. And now rotate it. The further your cursor away, it's easier to make those small increment adjustments. If your cursor's right up in here, it's very difficult. So notice I'm moving my cursor way down so I can try to get just that 0.2 is what I want. Come on. 0.1, 0.2. Alright. And now we need to do our alignment again. And bring it way out and bring it in. Alright. That one's good. And we just keep doing the same thing until I look like I'm lined up. Now, if I don't think I'm going to hit it, and even with this curve that I'm doing now, I don't think I'm going to hit it. So I may have to go back and start increasing the curve a little bit more because I don't want the curve to be super obvious, so I do want it small amounts a little at a time. So this one's at 0.2. Let's change it to 0.3 and we'll go 0.3 from these ones on. There we go. That's another 0.1. That's almost not visible. We'll do 0.2 on this one too. See, it just doesn't like, there we go. You gotta play around with it to get it to angle the way you want. Alright. I think that's what I'm going to do is just keep increasing it a little bit until I think I'm going to hit it. And then I can pull off then. We have the pillar and the bridge. Ooh, those should all be under my bridge. Let me zoom out real quick and select everything and make sure it's in my right layer. I added these the other night. I was just curious. I hadn't seen the sticker yet. It's a bullet hole sticker. You can't really see them until you get real close, but it's a transparent with a bunch of bullet holes in it, so you can add bullet holes on walls or buildings or whatever. That's part of my bridge here, and that's actually, call that construction 5. Oh, maybe 4. Oh, it is construction 4. Where's those bullet holes? There we go. Like I said, I try to keep all my stuff on the same layers so I can adjust things and hide things if I need to. I'm using a couple of them, but none of them create dependencies. I'm using Tanoa bridges, which the bridge pieces are not normally extended or exposed in the Eden editor. So the Tanoa bridges mod exposes the bridge pieces, and then it has this bridge generator. I actually don't know what that one is, but the save all to simple objects, what it allows you to do is that you select all your bridge pieces, it creates everything as simple objects, and then you just put it in your init. That way nobody has to have the mod. The other mods are just my normal development mods. Threeden T Teden. I hate when they do that, but T Eden. This basically allows you to build compositions and then export them as an SQF to make like your submission that you're working on. You could then build your components, select all the components, and do export, and it will create the code for you so that you have a composition basically. Other than that, I have a couple. I have the ZEI loaded, so I can fill building interiors and stuff like that. And I have a couple composition mods loaded. Yeah, Peaches I have loaded. Like, it has a dependency, but I just accept it without and not load the dependency. I think it requires cup or whatever. I just don't load cup, you know, and I may lose a couple pieces of his composition, but that's enough. It gets me started. It makes it a little bit quicker to build if I need to. So if you have any other questions, go ahead and ask. I know it's kind of boring to watch me do the same thing over and over again. But this is one of the things that we wanted to get in the Tanoa server. I was going to be spending the time doing it anyway, so I figured I might as well stream it, and you guys can see how fun it is to develop a map for Arma. Yeah, I think at this turn, I will probably make it. It's going to be close, but I think I'll make it. It sucks if it doesn't make it, then I have to come back and increase the angle further back, and that means redoing a section. But in all the other bridges I've done, I've actually hit my mark, so I've been either lucky or good. I'll take lucky, but hopefully I'm good. Ah, it's doing it again. It's like it's snapping to the ground, even though the ground isn't anywhere near. Or I'm telling it not to snap. That messes up my height here. So close. Oh, I was looking at the wrong point. That is bizarre. They've got a misalignment in their own bridge. I was looking at that misalignment thinking it was my problem, and I'm sitting here adjusting it. No, I can't do 5 at a time because I'm angling each one at the different angles. So if I angle them all, then my curve won't be the same curve as I keep going. So the first curve was at 0.2, then 0.43, then 0.4. So if I copied them all, it would be all off. I'm just trying to hit that. It's very hard to hit it. I have to adjust the angle so slowly as I go so that it's not an abrupt angle. And if you do abrupt angle, then definitely your edges won't line up. If you're doing a slow curve like this, the edges are so close, nobody's ever going to notice that they don't line up perfectly. But I'm getting my curve that I want. Over here I had to do a pretty distinct curve, and you can see, you know, my edges are pretty close, but you know, again, well, actually that's their edge again. Here's my edge. Yeah. So this is where the angle is the most extreme, and you can see it lines up pretty damn well. I'm hiding it pretty good. Yeah, here's a curve right here. So that's at the most extreme angle because the bridge doesn't turn, so I have to angle the bridge a little bit, and so that inside edge is always going to be off a little bit. But like I said, that's pretty acceptable. Yeah, see, you can hear the handrails. They don't line up. But that's a really extreme curve there. And it's because I missed my mark and didn't start curving sooner. So at that point I said, oh, I'm not going to go back and adjust every single one of them. I'm just going to make it more extreme there. Why is it doing this? That is so annoying. I turned off and on snapping again to see if it would fix it. I don't know what's going on. It's so hard to get very tiny increments in the snap. I wish you could see, I can toggle it to here's my increments that I can toggle the grid, but I normally do it with free transition and not have a grid. Maybe it would help if I did have a grid, I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna rotate. I think I'm gonna hit it. I think I may do this one up to 5. Damn snapping. Yeah, it would have been nice for the. I mean, they have tons of curved roads. You know, when you look at the Arma 2 roads or the cup roads, there's definitely many different angles. But the assets I have for the bridge are that one, long, pillar, ramp, ramp down, ramp up, wooden, and another type of pillar. So basically I've only got one road piece. It's gonna be close. I think I'm gonna have to increase my angle. I was playing it too safe. I should have probably did a whole degree. It's gonna be so close. Alright. I might get... Is this what I had to do last time? Just start making adjustments as I got closer. Again, I could have probably made it look better if I had gone back and adjusted it earlier. But we'll take this one and do it a whole degree here. God, that snapping is annoying. Alright, so I have the premiere of the NAK Ops yesterday running in 4 minutes. all that was a way to just see if people were interested in kind of watching it together and commenting on it. So that premiere is going to start shortly, and we'll end this stream and go to that. So if you just want to watch yesterday's NAK Ops event and laugh at people and comment on it as you watch it, you're welcome to. So I'm going to go ahead and end this, and then we'll go ahead and do that if you're interested. Thanks for watching, guys. I may do this more often if people are interested. I know it's not exactly fun, but again, I'm doing it anyway, so I might as well stream it. So.